Welcome back, everyone. As I mentioned, this is part 2 on Spotlight on America in relations to the fentanyl opioid crisis that is taking place currently. And this part will tap into my tools, the tarot cards, and to kind of chime in to see what is currently taking place pertaining to this crisis, and more importantly, what can be done to help eradicate this crisis moving ahead. Okay, this is definitely a very disturbing and devastating crisis that I did speak about in the first part of the video, and we need to know, besides what will be expressed through the cards in terms of those in higher power, toward the end I'm going to reveal to you or just suggest what we can do collectively as a whole within our own immediate community. What can we do for our loved ones, being that so many of them are losing their lives due to this opioid overdose, and those that might be currently suffering that you might not be aware of. So that will come toward the end. I will try not to make this long, but these are very vital highlighted messages that I've been guided from my spirit team to kind of shed some light into what is taking place currently. So let's get into the cards. The first card that came out was the Seven of Swords. That came out along with these other two cards of the Two of Wands and the Nine of Wands. So the Seven of Swords is very imminent of what is currently taking place. The Seven of Swords is a very sneaky, but it's a quiet energy. And as I mentioned before, that this crisis has been silent. It has been quiet because it hasn't been brought forward to the public in terms of what's going on. Bear in mind, yes, there are so many things, there are so many current events that takes place each and every single day that it doesn't get a chance to come and be highlighted or talked about or discussed in headlines. But if you ask me, should this topic and should this crisis have been something that should have been brought to the headlines? Absolutely. Why? Because it's affecting our loved ones. Some of you might be dealing with someone who is in fact dealing with an opioid addiction. Maybe some of you have been successful in having that loved one to recover and to return back to normal. And for some of you, unfortunately, you might have in fact in the past couple of months, past year, maybe sometime before that, have lost someone due to this silent crisis that have seemed to be hidden, that the public hasn't been aware of. So the surrounding cards that comes along with the Seven of Swords behavior, or just the fact, as I said, that it hasn't been announced publicly as an awareness, we have here the Nine of Wands, which means the Nine of Wands means there has to be action taken in order to help combat this crisis. The Two of Wands is talking about something that in fact leads to the source, that the source is actually a country that is outside of the United States. Okay, so by all means, later on you guys can also further look into this. You can Google the information if you would like to know, as I did not, for reasons of just safety wise and just not being too judgmental and bringing certain things directly. I choose to just keep that silent, but you can always do your own research and get further information about what main country that this whole crisis has been linked to. But the fact that the Two of Wands shows up, it is of course a country that is international. The world here, you see a globe here with this energy here. There sits a globe which represents the world. So this is an international country that is behind or being linked as the source of bringing this drug into U.S. borders. Okay? Following that, we move over. The next two cards that have come out pertaining to this topic, we have the Towel along with the World card. We have here, ladies and gentlemen, we have here two major arcanas, which speaks very heavily about the intensity and the the attention that is needed about this. Both of these represent very powerful energies, but it really represents that in fact there is something that is causing a disruption, is causing a disturbance, it's causing a major factor within our nation. Okay, so this is why the tower popped up, because it's bringing emphasis, it's reinforcing that this addiction, this crisis is indeed affecting those that we love, be it family, be it friends, or just the nation itself, dealing with those that seem to be targeting, as I mentioned before, between the ages of 18 and 45. It's bringing very destructive behavior. It's something that has been leading to, unfortunately, deaths for those that unfortunately may not be able to recover from it. So it calls for sudden changes. And this is what the World card is about. It's about sudden changes as a whole, that we as a whole need to bring about in order to help combat this crisis moving ahead, right? The next card that came out for this topic we have here is the King of Pentacles, and we have the Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands and the King of Pentacles represents people in power, provided we as a people have a voice. So when it comes to the regulations, when it comes to certain laws, we as a people, we can voice our opinions. But the question is, once we voice our opinions, are they going to be recognized? Is it going to be something that those in power and high authorities is going to take into consideration and do something about something that we are stressing that needs immediate attention, such as this crisis? So when I look at both these energies, these both speak about leadership. So these are in fact leader roles, people that are in office, people that represent power to change and to bring about some type of solution to this crisis as other crises. I know as a people at times too, we have very little faith in what the government and what those in authority should be doing, and a lot of times we unfortunately don't just have the power to do so. But when it comes to crisis, when it comes to pandemics, when it comes to epidemics, more so, we need and rely on them basically to help, to change and bring about some type of solution before the matters of whatever it is that's plaguing our nation to get worse than what it is. So again, looking at the King of Pentacles, looking at the King of Wands, we have both kings here. So that represents someone of high stature, someone of authority that have the power to bring about the change of what is inflicting America at this time. The King of Pentacles also represents that of wealth, represents funds, represents money, lots of money. So as we continue on in the reading, the King of Pentacles is going to come into play because the cards will show that it will take quite a bit of funds to help whatever is needed to bring about the changes, to enforce certain things, to make this eradication happen very soon. As we shift down to the other cards that came out, we have here the Strength card, and we have here the Six of Swords. So as we move down, the energy now lets me know that yes, this is something that we can see that will be eradicated toward the future, that it will take not only the power of those in authority to do so, but it will also take maybe the physical strength of man, okay, what you called manpower, but it just takes bravery to be able to bring whatever is needed in order to bring peace, or to bring a solution, I should say, surrounding this matter. Because this crisis is definitely something that if it doesn't have a solution immediately, it can get worse, okay? And the Six of Swords is an energy that moves away. So whatever measures that will be taken, it shows that there is hope that this matter can be gone away soon if things are planned strategically. If the action that was mentioned by the Nine of Wands come into play, they need to act on it. They need to take action quickly to help this before it gets worse, right? So the Six of Swords, again, it just lets me know that this is something that can successfully be eradicated. It will be something that they can successfully find a solution toward, okay? So it has to take bravery as the Strength card. It cannot take a back seat. It has to come forward and have the willpower as well. The willpower, it has to take the strength, but not so much physical strength. It's just the energy in itself. It's more like the attitude that I have to take in order to make this now, in addition to the other crisis that is going on, this has to be a focal matter moving ahead in order to contain it. Because in so many ways, this can be, if it's not resolved in a matter that becomes worse, this can be like an outbreak, if you will. You know, so many lives, many more lives can be affected by this crisis. Now, as we move over to the other cards, we have here the Ace of Swords. So, for those particularly that are in position, they're going to be getting some insights. They're going to be getting some type of new information, new ideas, new ways in trying to combat this crisis. Now, along with this card here, the other cards that came out that I felt I wanted to pull out, which shows promise that this can be something that can be resolved. We do have here the Ten of Swords. This is also like an energy somewhat reminiscent of the Six of Swords. Something that passes, something that finally goes away. So that came up. We do have the Hangman that came up. This represents a holding pattern. So maybe for a moment, there may be a slight pause, a brief delay in trying to figure out. So there's going to be like the meeting of the minds, if you will, for those in power to figure out what can truly be done in order to help prevent this epidemic from spreading to a pandemic. So there's going to be meetings. There's going to be a lot of conferences, calls, whatever it means. It's going to be the meeting of the mind that's going to have to come together to find a way in order to find the best solution possible. But like I said, it might take some time, not too much time, but it's something that they need to work on. So this is not going to be fixed overnight or within a week. It's going to take a moment, but I feel the energy behind this, that it will be something that will be progressing and that overall it will be successful. We got the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands is moving away. What is moving away? This crisis. I feel that in fact this crisis has the strong potential to be resolved, and that it will be something that if it doesn't go away altogether, that the majority of the deaths and the fatalities that's connected to this will be reduced significantly. So there is hope. Sometimes they might not be able to control and bring a solution to it completely, but they will take strides in trying to correct it and to bring down the number of deaths and fatalities that is linked to this crisis. The next card that came out was the Moon card. The Moon card is a perfect card that came out to support, I would say, the Ace of Wands in terms of clarity, because there might be some that might be kind of confused at this time as to the best way to resolve this matter. But the Moon brings out clarifying things that we don't see, things that we don't quite know what to do with, or we might be confused. Well, the Moon is going to help to bring some type of clarity and a solution that will help to speed up the process of bringing this crisis, to bring it to an end if all possible. And the last card we have is the Ten of Pentacles. The Ten of Pentacles is one of the most happiest cards of the tarot deck because it represents success. It represents hope. And if nothing more, it just represents that the progress that is made toward getting this result is going to lead to something positive. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's pray that this all plays out and that this matter, that this crisis does in fact kind of go away altogether, but at least it will bring more focus and more attention on what needs to be done right now. Now, moving over to our next set of cards, we have here the High Priestess. The High Priestess as well, to me, brings about clarifying ideas, solutions to this crisis at this time. So it's all about the meeting of the minds again, being given insight into what needs to be done moving ahead, thinking about a plan, working ahead toward resolving this matter. Also that came out was the Two of Pentacles. The Two of Pentacles is decisions, choices. So when I mentioned about that there was going to be meetings of these in high authority, there will be meetings because they're going to come together and they're going to figure out what's the best choice, what is the best way toward eradicating this crisis or this epidemic, right? So there's going to be choices there that they may have to figure out the best way moving forward. We have here the Queen of Pentacles. The Queen of Pentacles is not being stubborn. Remember earlier I mentioned about the King of Pentacles. So the Queen of Pentacles is an energy of withholding funds, withholding what you have when it comes to money. This is a crisis that will take some funding. So this is not the time for any type of decisions that will be made that you don't want to hold back money. You want to be able to put out the necessary funds in order to get the best possible way to help put in force whatever is needed so that the progress that they are seeking, it won't be no delays. You don't want to have money to be the cause of not going further with coming to an issue or coming to a resolution about the matter. So this is not the time for them to hold back any type of financial resources that might be available. But as well, they need to put funds toward working and solving this crisis. The other two cards that came out, we have the Two of Cups and we have it along with the Justice card. So justice will be the solution here. There will be justice. There's going to be a judgment. There's going to be, if you will, there will be well, the Two of Cups is about unity, uniting. So when you unite together to bring about the justice for the people or the nation, it's going to come to be, because of the fact that this major arcana came out, and the Two of Cups is about meeting, coming together. You know, it's about, it doesn't have to be about, it's not by no means talking about loving in terms of a physical connection. The Two of Cups represents all things when it comes to connecting with other people, when it comes to connecting with the community, when it comes to connecting with other forces, if you will, to bring about unity and peace and love, right? And we definitely need to bring about some type of unity when it comes to this, because why? It is dealing with and connecting with those that we love. So this is something that we will see justice in, okay? Because this is a major arcana. So the fact that it came out and appeared in this reading, it shows hope. It shows that moving forward, things will progress for the positive. Now, those are the cards that came out, and so now as we wind down, I wanted to clarify, to also get some insight from my spirit guides to see, in fact, what is the major emphasis moving ahead, what needs to be reinforced, what is now going to happen in terms of the outcome of all of this. So the card that came out to clarify the Six of Swords, we have here the Eight of Fire. So remember, we started out with the Nine of Fire. So it's just bringing attention that definitely there's going to be action that need to be put into play. It's not something that needs to be discussed one time. This is something that needs to be ongoing because the problem is continuing to continue to go on, right? So they need to find different ways, as I've mentioned before, and I know I may be repeating it, is that they need to be on top of this. They need to kind of put this at the forefront as well, if you will. Anytime we are dealing with an epidemic, it needs immediate result. It's not something that you can just turn away from or walk away from. It needs to be on track, right? You need to stay on it so that it can come to a solution from it being an outbreak or a pandemic. We never want to ever, not we, but those that are in charge of these type of situations, they don't never want to just take a seat and just stay there and not do anything about it. So this is a progressive type of thing that they have to work on, right? Now, also that came out was justice. Justice came out again. So it lets me know that in fact, if those in power are on it and they are persistent and they are determined, that justice will be served and that the outcome will be favorable and that more lives would be saved. But they got to be on it. They got to be persistent, because if they take a seat, if they kind of put it back to the pull it back, right? Excuse my talking. If they don't focus on it and they just take kind of take it lightly, I should say, then this problem will still be there. So they have to be able to, as I said, to be on it and work on it, okay? Now, the next card that came out to clarify, what do we have here? The Ten of Swords and the Hangman. We have here Ace of Water, which is like equivalent to your Ace of Cups in your regular tarot. We have the Dreamer. And basically, it talks about intuition. And we did get the High Priestess. So again, they're going to be getting a lot of information, a lot of insight. There's going to be support, I see, as a whole. There will be support, hopefully, as a whole, that they will get the funding that they need to help bring all of this to the forefront and to help solve this crisis before it gets worse. Now, the next card to me that kind of, as we round out, when asked what is really needed in terms of bringing some type of solution, when I came to this particular card, the Page of Earth, here, if you really look closely, this person up in the top is holding up an envelope, like mail, right? So I jotted down this information in support of this Page of Earth because it speaks about stepping up more significantly its ability to cease fentanyl at U.S. Customs and Border Protection Area where mail is concerned. Now, there is an act called the STOP Act, and it seems that it has been improving in terms of showing signs of progress. So even though there has been measures taken when it comes to the postal services, when it comes to U.S. Customs and the border protection, it looks like, in fact, they have been trying to beef up more security and more, more ways of picking up and sensing fentanyl packages, okay? So the fact that I wanted to bring reference to that is when the mail little icon popped up there, I'm like, that is one way that can be done to bring about more security and being more on top of it. They would use the funding, the money that they need to add more security if needed, but whatever it takes to bring in more what's the word I'm looking for? To bring in more scrutiny and scrutinizing all activity where the border area is best put into place, or when it comes to the mail, that they need to be able to scrutinize it more. And so this is where their funding should go towards as well. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of point that out. Now, as we close out, the other cards that came out we have here is the Knight of Fire. The Knight of Fire was like your Knight of Wands that popped out in the beginning. It's about being prepared and protection. And so in speaking about protecting the U.S. borders and protecting what's going on here in the United States, this here talks about that obviously for this to come out again, that they are going to really do what's needed to bring about security and protection to the best of their ability, right? After all, man can do but so much, right? It's still, we could never look to man to bring about peace, to bring about the best solutions for the people. They try to do their best, but overall we know that at the end it takes a higher source, the divine, to really help enforce these agents, to enforce the people that are in place to bring about solutions and peace to the world, right? Now we have here the moon. The moon came out again, which means that there is going to be clarity. There's going to be a solution. There's going to be other means, other ways that will be given to them in terms of bringing other solutions to this problem, okay? Because it talks about revealing. So the moon is what it's meant to do, to bring things that is not quite clear or you might be a little unsure about. They're going to get clarity in terms of how to go about this moving ahead. And then the last card that came out was the Two of Air. And to me, this is overall the attitude or the energy that they cannot take when I spoke about earlier. The Two of Air is like your Two of Swords. Basically, it's not refusing. It's about not avoiding what's at hand. So as long as they do not avoid and they do not take this matter or this crisis lightly, and they do stay on top of this can definitely be resolved. So even though there might be a delay in terms of them figuring out in the meeting of the minds and all that needs to come together to figure out the best possible solution moving ahead, as long as they stay on track and keep this crisis as something as important as the forefront without any type of other distractions, they will be successful in eradicating this crisis. Okay, so I hope that was very helpful for those that stuck around and was curious about the situation and about me bringing this awareness. I hope that my cards, the tools, help shed some type of insight as to what is needed. Now, and just, by the way, I just seen it on the side. I had this on the side, just so you know that the Wheel and the Emperor came out. Now, the Wheel talks about luck and progress, but it also talks about change. So that lets me know, when I spoke about earlier, that there is promise, there is hope. Yes, if everything goes as it should be, if they will continue to work on this and really get to the bottom of this and use the funds to really help with this situation, change is on its way and it will be successful. It can and will be eradicated. Also, we got the Emperor. The Emperor shows that, again, it really goes back to those in authority, because the Emperor represents someone that leads, a leadership, someone who's in power. So the fact that it's mentioning that again, it just really shows you that despite what we may say, at the end, it's those that is in charge that will help to be able to bring a solution to this crisis, as other crises that are going on along with this crisis. So that is the cards that came out. And so I wanted to, before we close out, I wanted to mention or bring to you what we can, in the meantime, while the government and those that have the power to help eradicate this, what can we do on our own as a community? What can we do in dealing with someone who has an opioid addiction? It says, I wrote here, the first thing that is suggested is to have an honest talk, doing so with love and support. Remember, he or she is in pain or thinks he is in pain. Avoid blaming them for their addiction. Encourage them to seek help for their addiction. Also, mention to them that they are not alone. Everyone can play a part and take action to help their loved ones in recovery. Okay? And I have here as a side note Not sure if some of you have heard of it, but if by any chance you know of someone, whether it's a friend, whether it's a family member, that you are aware that has and is dealing with an opioid addiction, there is something at best that you can do, particularly those that are close to you in your environment. There is something that is a lifesaver. It is called naloxone, if I pronounce that correctly, naloxone or naloxone, also called Narcan. I will actually put it in the description so that you can look into it if you're interested. This is for those that know people who have an addiction, and if unfortunately you happen to see them in a distress situation where they are not coherent and they are not awake, it's understood that this Narcan or naloxone, I'm not pronouncing it, naloxone is not, it's something that you can have, that you can administer to them, and it's something that you can give them until the first responders come to them. Now, this is something, like I said, I will put in the description box. By all means, you can do your own research, look it up to understand more about this life-saving distributor that you can give to your loved ones, okay? And the idea and the purpose of it is that it can help reverse the effects of an opioid overdose. So this might be something, like I said, that you guys might want to look into in terms of helping someone and to save their lives. And I think it's a matter of minutes that you have in which you can administer to them. But like I said, I will have it in my description box so that you can further do research and look more into this. And also to know, you don't have to worry, you can get this without a prescription, okay? Now, so as we close out, I asked Spirit, I was just curious as to why it's targeting adults between 18 to 45. Like, what is the influence? What is the motive behind this? And the first card that came out was the Five of Wands. The Five of Wands is about conflict, but it's about other people. Okay, it's about conflict with people that might as well be addicted to this. So it's almost like hanging out with the wrong crowd or being surrounded by the wrong crowd. And we already know when you're around the wrong crowd who have certain addictions and they're doing things that it's not good, you can be easily influenced. So the Five of Wands lets me know that this is an influence that is causing, for some of that age group that is becoming addicted to this, that they're being influenced by the wrong company, okay? The next card that came out was the World card. This lets me know that it's accessible, that this fentanyl, it's accessible. Remember early in the first part of the video, I mentioned that it's cheap. And so when something is cheap, but it gives you that feel-good type of thing, that means that it's accessible to any and everyone. So there is discretion that has to be made for those that are dealing with this, or for people that know someone that is dealing with this, because it's accessible. It's very accessible. And when something as this is accessible, then that means that it's going to be seen more in the streets. The activity and getting involved is going to be more heightened because of its access to it, but because it's cheap, right? The next card that came out with it is the Eight of Swords. The Eight of Swords is that most of them are not aware that they are or have been taking this, because now I don't have much knowledge about drugs and all of that, but what I do know and what I've read is that what's been going on is that when certain drugs is laced with other drugs, unbeknownst to the person that is about to indulge, they are very much aware, because the Eight of Swords is someone who have blindfolds on. So it means that you are unconscious. You are not aware of what's going on in your environment, but maybe something that you are given, it's subtle. It may look like something that maybe you asked for, but when in fact it's been laced with other things, or it's been mixed with other things that you wasn't aware of. So you're not quite familiar with what has taken place. But all you know is that after taking it, it's making you feel very good. Because from what I understand, that this fentanyl, once you take it for the first time, it makes you feel good. It's like that endorphin, that feel good endorphin. And once you use it, you continue to abuse it. So it's very hard, from what I've read, to kind of come off it, right? Now, the next card that came out was the Chariot. So the Chariot for me is something that it could just be the company in which you keep. If something don't feels right, in terms of moving ahead, the Chariot means movement. But use your own intuition. And this kind of brings me up to the last card, the High Priestess. When it comes to anything that don't feel right, use your intuition. If something don't feel right, leave it alone. And we know that's easy said than done, but for your sanity and for you not being fooled into something that you know in your heart of hearts that you are not ready to do or act upon, it's suggested to move away from anything that's forcing you. This is like peer pressure. So to me, in this reading, the Chariot represents peer pressure. Pressure from your friends, pressure from those that have been using drugs, and so they are influencing you. So everyone, as we close out, my suggestion here in terms of, again, what will be needed is, like I said, if you know someone that is dealing with this and who is suffering, go to them, approach them with love, approach them with support, approach them in a delicate manner, and let them know that they're not alone. But if possible, if you can help guide them to a drug counselor where they can help recover from this, that would be the best thing that you can do for your loved ones and friends alike. Everyone, this does end this Spotlight on America with this fentanyl crisis. I hope that the information was very helpful. For the very least, I hope I did in fact bring awareness to you, because this is something that has been plaguing America in the past 2 to 3 years. And because it has been hidden and haven't been put out in the headlines, and a lot of times we don't know all the things that goes on. But like I said, it came to my attention over the weekend, and if you appreciated me bringing you this enlightening matter, please let me know by dropping me a comment. Show your appreciation. If you did in fact appreciate it, hit the notification bell so that you are up to date or will be more enlightened, as I will bring similar other matters in crisis that might be going on here in America. And last but not least, send some electricity to that thumbs like button to give me a like, and then share with your friends and family so that they can as well get on to topics and subjects that maybe haven't been discussed that needs to be enlightened and to be made aware of. All right, everyone. So until the next time, I'm wishing all of you a wonderful Monday, and let us keep our fingers crossed and pray that this crisis do in fact happen to lead to being eradicated for the best interest of our loved ones. Until the next time, peace, love, and light. Namaste. Bye.